Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Hatha practice. For props for today, I suggest having a strap or anything that's kind of strap-like. A hard block, a soft block, and a bolster will come in handy. And when you're ready, we'll get started on the back. If there's a different quiet shape you'd rather begin in, then you're welcome to start wherever you like. If you are coming to the back, then you might choose to bring the bolster with you, and you can have the knees gently rest on it. As you set yourself up, come and find any comfortable symmetrical shape. And if you need the support of any of your other props too, then feel free to add them in. And take your time just to settle in here. If anything feels a little fidgety, feel free to find some movement first. And then as you feel ready, you start to quiet down the body. Settling into your stillness, maybe closing down the eyes or soften the gaze, steady the gaze to something unmoving. As the body quiets down, gently start to deepen the breath. Finding your long, full inhales and your long, deep exhales. Notice if the mind has started to wander and gently guide it back to your breath. As you lie here, take a moment to check in and see what would bring you the most benefit for your practice today. You are always welcome to modify, and if you need to slow things down a bit, add some pauses or anything like that, you can always do that. If you're looking to add on and build on, you can always do that as well. Just keep checking in with the body and with the breath. Even here, if you need more time, you can stay as you are for as long as you need. And only when you feel ready to start to move, you might wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe rotate the wrists and the ankles a few times in each direction. Maybe extend the arms up overhead and give yourself a full body stretch. Pointing the toes, maybe lifting the hips, reaching with the fingertips. Awesome. And then when you're ready, bring the knees into the chest, wrap the arms around the shins, and give yourself that squeeze, a rock side to side. Awesome. And if you were using a bolster, you can move that out of the way. Bring your feet down to the floor, separate them maybe about as wide as the mat, and then start to windshield wiper the knees side to side. You can move more slowly or more quickly. You can also pause anywhere along the way, checking in with the legs, with the hips, with the spine here. Be with your breath. And the next time the knees come down towards the left, take a pause for 5 deep breaths. You can modify your shape or add props for the knees. Breathe deeply here. Once you complete your last round, take an inhale to lift the knees. You can reset the feet. With your exhale, take the knees down to the opposite side. And again, pause here for 5 deep breaths. With an inhale, lifting the knees back up, and then just a couple times, windshield wipers side to side. Awesome. And then re-extending the legs any way you can, flip yourself onto the belly. And then find one of your props, maybe your soft block. You can also use your bolster here. Bring it near the top of the mat, and we'll set up for crocodile pose. So think about lowering the forehead towards the floor, maybe bringing your elbows up onto your prop, or you can just have them out in front. And see about walking the elbows maybe a little further forward in space, or maybe a little closer together. See what that feels like. And then the fingertips can stay pointing towards the ceiling, or you can bend the elbows a little further, maybe thumbs towards the back of the head. And let the upper chest be heavy here. Find that stretch for the arms and shoulders. And breathe into it. And gently re-extend the arms. You can bring the hands underneath the shoulders and then press yourself up to a tabletop position. You can keep your soft block near the top of the mat. And we'll set up for a thread the needle twist here. So setting the hands roughly underneath the shoulders. With an inhale, reach the left arm up towards the ceiling. And with your exhale, thread the left arm through. Settling that left shoulder down to the floor, the left side of the head. Notice if the hips swayed over towards the right. See if you can keep them mostly towards midline. And then if the head is hovering uncomfortably, maybe bring your block in for support. And see what you'd like to do with the right arm here so it can stay grounded. You can bring the right palm on the left. You can do a half bind if that feels better for the shoulders. So be wherever you need to be here. Awesome. If the right hand is somewhere other than the floor, you can brace it back down. With an inhale, unravel, reach the left arm back up towards the ceiling, and then bring the left hand back to the floor. With the hands under the shoulders, the knees under the hips, take a few rounds of cat-cow here. So as you inhale, let the belly sag down, lift the heart space and the tailbone. As you exhale, round in, chin towards the chest, and dome the upper back. And then take about 5 more rounds with your breath, your pace. Awesome. And coming back to center, find your flat back. And then when you're ready, with an inhale, reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. And then thread the right arm through, settling right shoulder, right side of the head. And again, notice what this side feels like, keeping the hips roughly towards midline. And then find the same arm expression you did on the first side. If the side needs something a little different, then go for it. Feel free to modify. Breathe here. Left hand finds the floor. Inhale breath to unravel. Reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. And then bring the right hand down. And once again, take a few rounds of cat-cow with your breath to reset the spine. One final round. Awesome. Coming back to your tabletop position. And from here, we'll step the left foot forward between the hands. You can save your soft block to pad the back knee if it feels a little sensitive. Take a moment to set up your lunge here. We'll keep the back knee lowered and toes can be tucked or untucked. And find your balance, and when you're ready, you can come on up. And from here, reaching the arms up towards the ceiling, and then cactus the arms. And flowing with the breath. So as you inhale, open the chest, maybe take the elbows back a little, gaze can lift. And then as you exhale, bring the forearms towards each other. They don't have to touch, chin towards the chest to round in. And then inhale, open up, lengthen across the chest. And exhale, round in. And keep going with your breath at your pace. And the whole inhale to open up. And the whole exhale to close back in. Three more. Final one. Inhale, open up. With your exhale, bring the hands to the floor. We'll step to downward facing dog. And take a moment to reset your stance. Find the distance between the hands and feet that feels the most stable, the most steady. Maybe pedaling the heels a little, checking in with that back line of the legs, checking in with the spine. Find a heaviness for the skull. Maybe nod yes and no a few times. The hands stay actively pressing into the floor to help find that stability for the wrists and the shoulders. Finding your stillness in down dog as you're ready. And at any point during your practice, if you need to swap out child's pose for down dog, you can do that. And then when you feel ready, step the right foot forward between the hands, lower the left knee to the floor. And we'll set up that low lunge for the second side. So again, take a moment, set up your stance, your proportions, find your balance. When you're ready, come on up, reach the arms, and then find your cactus. Same again here. Inhale, breath, open the front body across the chest. Exhale, bring the forearms in and round. Keep going with your breath at your pace. Last 3 rounds. A little different here. Inhale, breath, open up. And with your exhale, we'll bring the fingertips to the floor. This time, step forward to a forward fold. And you might start with a generous bend to the knees, or you can alternate bending one knee a little bit more, stretching out the opposite leg. And then when you feel ready, you can come and find your stillness, maybe keeping a little more of a bend to the knees here. Find that heaviness for the spine. And if the low back feels a little uncomfortable, you're welcome to stay in more of a halfway lift position. Maybe you want to use your prop for that. Check in here. You can give the head a nod, yes and no. Find the arm expression that you like, maybe hands to opposite elbows.
Awesome. Release the bind if you have it. Inhale breath, find a halfway lift, lengthen the spine. And as you exhale, fold back in. Twice more like that. Inhale, lengthen. And sigh. Final one, deep breath. And out. Now bend the knees a little deeper, and with an inhale, start to walk the hands up the legs, slowly round all the way up to stand. You can do this over a couple breaths if you feel a little lightheaded. Eventually coming all the way up. When you arrive, take an inhale, shrug the shoulders up towards the ears. With your exhale, soften them back down. And twice more, inhale. And exhale. Last one. All right, now you can keep your feet where they've landed, maybe hip distance apart, or you can bring the feet all the way together. And setting up for chair pose, so maybe bring the hands to prayer, gently press the palms to keep that space across the chest. And take a deep inhale here, press the feet to the floor. And as you exhale, bend the knees as much as you like. So you can stay a little more, a little higher up, or you can come a little deeper, find a place that feels sustainable here. And then we're going to set up for a twist. So you can either stay upright for this or we'll hook elbow to knee. Either way, take a deep inhale, puff up the chest. And then as you exhale, twist towards the left. Stay high or right elbow just outside the left knee. If you're connecting knee to elbow, then press the knee into the elbow, press the palms together and keep that space going shoulder to shoulder. Notice what the bum is doing, and if it's pointing to one direction or the other, see if you can keep it roughly in midline. And breathe deeply here. All right, the next time you inhale, unravel to center, and then exhale, hinge over the legs. You might reseparate the feet a little bit here and see what you need, maybe some movement, maybe a fold, a bind. And if you'd rather rest in standing, you can come straight there and be wherever you need to be for the next 5 to 7 breaths. If you're in a fold, inhale breath, find your halfway lift, lengthen, and sigh it out. Twice more. Last one. And then bend the knees, inhale, hands up the legs, slowly around all the way up to stand. No rush to arrive. And when you do, press the feet to the floor, inhale, shrug the shoulders, and soften them. And twice more like that. Awesome. Setting up for chair pose, second side. So whatever you do to the first, either feet together or slightly apart. Hands to prayer at the chest. Inhale, puff up, press the feet down. Exhale, bend the knees any amount. See what you need here. Take a deep inhale. And exhale, twist towards the right, either staying high or left elbow outside the right knee. Pressing the knee into the elbow, pressing the palms together. Find that space across the chest. And then imagine some length from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Last few deep breaths here. The next time you inhale, unravel to center, and then hinge and fold over the legs. And again, check in here for a few breaths, maybe separating the legs a little bit, maybe pulsing or finding some movement. You can always come and rest in your Tadasana, your standing pose. Otherwise, any version of a forward fold. And if you like to explore a different bind here, maybe interlacing the hands at the low back, or you can use your strap. Awesome. If you have a bind, you can let that go. Inhale, find your halfway lift, lengthen, and sigh. Twice more. Last one. Awesome. Before we move on from here, look around and find your strap. And then find a halfway lift, and we'll take a big step back with the right foot. Drop the right heel to the floor, right toes point towards the right. And with an inhale, come on up to find your warrior two, and you can have the strap in one hand. Take a moment to set up your stance here. So front foot mostly pointing towards the front, back foot mostly pointing towards the side. Find a depth that feels appropriate. You can always lengthen your base. You can play with the relationship between front and back foot to find something that feels really stable here. Arms can reach when you're ready. Find a little softness for the shoulders. Maybe checking in to see that the arms are where they feel like they are in space. Notice the soles of the feet for a moment. Keep them actively pressing into the floor. Notice the chest and the shoulders. Find that distance, that space. And soften if it feels like you're shrugging. Awesome. And from your triangle, take a deep inhale, or from your warrior two rather, take a deep inhale and reach forward, and then bring the left hand towards the floor, or you can bring it towards a block. We're going to set up to find bound triangle here, so you can take your strap. It doesn't matter if it's in a loop or if it's just a straight line. Take it in your right arm and reach the right arm up towards the ceiling, and then bend that elbow so that the strap can dangle between your legs. Now, if you're coming with me for the full bind, you can release the left hand and catch the other end. Otherwise, if you're staying in a half bind, then you can stay with one hand to the floor. Thinking about bound triangle here, slowly start to extend that left leg towards straight, and then notice what the spine is doing. If you're turning towards the floor, if that right shoulder is dipping down, see if you can peel it up and open. If you like, you can experiment with walking the hands a little closer together on your strap. But if you're doing that, just make sure that it's not a compromise for the chest or for the spine. Now notice the legs here, keep them really active, like that's what's supporting you in space. And then take a few deep breaths. All right, if you have the bind, you can let that go. Reach the right arm up and over, turn the chest towards the floor. You can bend the left knee and then spin and lower the back knee towards the floor. Now you can keep your left foot where it is, like a little more towards the center of the mat. And we'll set up for a twisted lunge here. And again, there's the option either to use prayer arms like we did for chair, so hooking elbow to knee, or bring your strap with you, and I'll talk through one more bind for this side. Either way, you can start in prayer, take a deep inhale, and then as you exhale, twist towards the left. You can start off either way by hooking the right elbow to the left knee. And then option, if you want to take it a little further, reach that left arm behind you, let the strap dangle between the legs. And then see what it feels like to wriggle that left knee a little closer to that right armpit, and then maybe you can reach through the legs to catch hold of the other end of the strap. Now again, give yourself as much slack as you need that the spine can still stay somewhat tall, that you can still keep that space across the chest. And there's always the option to walk the hands a little closer together after. Now, even in this twist, make sure you're still breathing those long, deep breaths. All right, if you have that bind, you can let it go. Bring the fingertips to the floor. We'll lift the back knee up. You can bring your hard block with you for this. Spin the right heel to the floor and then parallel the feet as you bring your weight towards the center of the mat. Wide-legged forward fold. You can stay in more of a halfway lift. Keep using your block as much as you need. Or think about hinging and folding over the legs. See what that feels like. Maybe you're not quite ready for stillness. You could also play with bending one knee and then extending to bend the other. Sometimes pointing the feet out a little bit for this can help. But if you are ready, come and find your stillness. Awesome. From your fold, come and find your halfway lift, lengthen, and then sigh and fold in. And twice more. Last one. And then inhale, halfway lift. And spin the left foot forward and slowly walk yourself into a lunge. And then step forward towards a forward fold. We won't stay here. We'll set up for the second side. So take a big step back with the left foot. Spin the left heel to the floor. You can take the strap already. And then when you're ready, come on up and we'll find Warrior Two for the second side. Maybe heel toe, right foot a little to the right or to the left. Find your version of this shape. And generally mirroring whatever you did on the first side. But if you need to modify this round, then go for it. Arms reaching, shoulders soft, that length through the spine, that grounding through the feet. All right, and if you're ready, we'll set up for that bound or half bound triangle. So take an inhale and reach forward, and then hinge to bring the right hand to your block or to the floor. Any height setting, you can reach the left arm up behind you and then bend the elbow to let the strap dangle between the legs. Stay here for your half bind or reach through to find your full bind, and then start to press that right foot to the floor. Legs stay really active, rebound the spine, find that length, tailbone to crown. Notice where the spine is in space as well. So if it feels like the upper spine is dangling lower than the rest of it, see if you can keep the body in one line. If the hands are coming closer together, that's fine. Just make sure it's not at the compromise of the shape. So if you find the left shoulder dipping or the chest towards the floor, see what you can do to keep them nice and open towards the side wall. And keep breathing here. All right, if you have the strap, you can let it go. Bring one hand to the floor, reach the other arm up and over, and then you can start to bend the back knee, lowering it down. Setting up for your lunge, and we'll find that twist here. So as you're ready, you can come on up. Either way, we'll start off with the hands in prayer, but you can keep the strap nearby. And take an inhale, puff the chest, and then exhale, twist towards the right, hook the elbow to the knee. So again, you might stay exactly here. Maybe this feels like plenty. Maybe you're wriggling that right knee a little closer to the left armpit. If you're using a strap, then you can reach it behind you, let it dangle between the legs, and think about reaching for it with the left hand. You can start to walk the hands a little closer together, keep that space across the chest, and keep breathing here. All right, gently release the strap. You can unravel to center, find your prop, lift the back knee and spin all 10 toes over towards the left as you walk the body towards center. And again, see what you need for this round. The same option to bend the knee, and then the other side. If you're ready to find stillness, you could fold over the legs. Find an arm expression to match, maybe hands to the legs. If you want another bind, then go for it. Maybe earmuffs to add some weight to the head. If you have a bind, you can let that go and come and find your halfway lift and lengthen. And then sigh and fold. Twice more. Last one. And then inhale, halfway lift. Slowly start to heel toe the feet a little closer together, and we'll come and find a squat. Whatever distance between the feet feels the most steady for you, whatever angle with the toes is the most natural in your body. If you want to take the weight out, you can either bring your bolster, maybe your heart block, and come to sit on it. And the hands can stay on the floor, especially if you want them there for balance. Otherwise, bring the palms together. As the knees are pressed apart by the elbows, keep the knees pressing back into the elbows to create a sense of stability for the spine.
and then lengthen from the tailbone to the crown. Notice if the shoulders are shrugging, see if you can keep them nice and low. Breathe into your shape. All right. As you're ready, bring one hand behind you and then the other. Lower the bum down to the floor and then release the legs and give them a little shake out, maybe a tap for the knees, a swish for the feet, or a windshield wiper. Awesome. And then you can turn yourself sideways on the mat. Make sure you have your hard block, your soft block, and your strap nearby. So you can come to sit on the soft block and then start with both legs nice and open apart. But then we're going to bend the right knee in. So see what this feels like for you. You want to make sure that if it feels like you're kind of rolling back behind, then maybe add a little height for the hips. And if the right knee is floating, then I would suggest maybe adding a prop underneath. So if you're using a strap, we're going to turn towards the left leg and then play with folding over. Option for today to use the strap, but if you are using that, then just make sure you're not rounding the spine because you don't want to pull and round at the same time. So if you're using the strap, it may end up being slightly less deep than you would normally as far as how low the spine is, but it may still feel intense. So you can loop that left foot wherever feels comfortable. Turn your chest in the direction of the left leg, and then start off by getting really tall here. And take a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, start to hinge from the hips, leading with the chest, coming any amount over that left leg. And then see what this feels like. Pause where you need to. If you want to walk the hands up the strap a little bit, then go for it. And then find your breath here. All right, with a strong belly, maybe releasing the strap, supported by the hands, come on up. And then for a counter stretch, if you have a block under the right knee, you can remove it and take that right hand over to the right. And with an inhale, press down the right knee, the left foot, the right hand, lift the hips up and reach the left arm up and over and find a full stretch for that left hand side. And take a couple deep breaths here. All right, slowly lower the hips back down to the floor. And we'll set up for the second side. So you can start by switching the legs, maybe opening both, and then bringing that left knee in. And perhaps supporting the knee if it's floating. And again, make sure it doesn't feel like you're about to roll back. Find that tall spine. And then if you're using the strap, you can loop it to the right foot now, turning your chest to the direction of the right leg. Find that height, that length. Deep inhale. And with your exhale, start to hinge forward any amount. Stopping before you start to round. You can give yourself more or less slack with the strap. And finding your pain-free expression and softening here. And gently release the strap, coming up with the support of the hands. And setting up for your counter stretch, so moving the left block out of the way, left hand to the floor, ground down, left hand, left knee, right foot. Inhale, lift all the way up, reach the right arm up and over, and then a full stretch for the right side. Awesome. And then lowering the pelvis back down to the floor. Give yourself a moment here, maybe windshield wiper the knees a little bit. Awesome. And then you can stay on your seat. We're going to set up for one more bind twist. So you can start by wrapping the right leg underneath you. And if for any reason this shape doesn't work, then feel free to keep the right leg extended out in front. And then from here, we'll step the left foot just outside of the right knee. A few options, and you don't have to use a strap for this, so find your version of the twist. Ultimately, we're going to twist towards the left, maybe connecting the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. You could also wrap it around. If you're coming with me for the bind, then I would try to connect the right elbow outside of the knee and maybe walk up a little bit towards the armpit like we did for that lunge twist. Now take it nice and slow from here. So option to reach the right arm now between the legs and then use the strap to take it across, maybe connecting the other hand. So see what this feels like. You can always walk the hands a little closer. Make sure that this isn't compromising the shoulder in any way. If you can, keep a little space across the chest there as well. If you want to take the gaze over the left shoulder, then go for it. Last few deep breaths here. All right, you can gently release the strap, unbind yourself, and then take a counter twist over towards the right for a breath or two. Awesome. And then coming back to center, we'll switch the legs. So this time wrapping the left leg underneath or extending it out in front. And then stepping that right foot to the outside of the left knee. Just check in for the hips for a moment. If one hip is off the ground, then maybe add a little bit of height. Setting up to twist, so either wrapping the left arm around the knee or taking that left knee or left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Maybe staying upright here, maybe taking the armpit a little closer to the top of the knee. And if you're coming with me for the bind, then strap to the right hand, reach the left arm between the legs, and maybe you can connect it to the strap behind. You can walk the hands a little closer. Notice if this causes you to round all the way in, and maybe you can find just a little bit more length by giving yourself more slack to the strap. Upright spine, a little softness for the shoulders, and maybe the gaze over the right shoulder. Gently release your strap, unravel yourself back to center, and then take your counter twist. Awesome. Returning to center, and then release the legs, give them a little shake, a tap, a windshield wiper. Awesome. And then before we lower down to the back, it might help to set up your strap from here. So if you have a strap, then make it into a loop, and you can use kind of a nice big loop here. So if that's ready, and then you can adjust it afterwards. And then we're going to head down onto the back. So just make sure you have your strap and your bolster nearby, because they might both be useful where we're going. And you can lower down any way you'd like to get there. And once you do touch down, keep the feet roughly underneath the knees. You can walk them in a little bit if you need to. And we'll set up for bridge pose here. So maybe finding your robot arms, so elbows by the rib cage, and press down the elbows, the shoulders, and the feet. And with an inhale breath, lift the pelvis up any amount. You can stay right here. You can extend the arms. You can also walk the shoulder blades a little closer together, perhaps to bind the hands behind the low back. Either way, keep the shoulders and the feet pressing actively towards the floor. If the breath feels a little restricted, you could think about lifting the chin towards the ceiling, and that might give your windpipe a little more room. The pelvis stays lifted as best you can, and keep breathing here. Imagine yourself filling up with each inhale, and then grounding and letting go of anything you don't need with each exhale. All right, you can stay for up to 5 more breaths, but whenever you're ready, you can release the arms, the shoulders, and then slowly sequence the spine down to the floor. And take a pause when you arrive, maybe feet a little wider apart, maybe your knees rest together, hands can be on the body.
And then only when you feel ready to move again, you can flutter open the eyes and then look around to find your props. We're going to set up for a version of reclined butterfly, and this will also be our Shavasana for today. So if you're using a strap, you'll loop it through both legs and then bring it so that it's kind of underneath where the waist is. So imagine that it's like a oversized belt. And then we'll reach the other end of the strap between the knees and see if you can loop both of your feet into it. So already you're kind of in a butterfly shape. Bring the bolster across the mat and then lower the legs down onto it. This is one of my favorite stretches, one of my favorite setups. Just make sure that you take your time to find the most comfortable version of it for yourself. So if you need to give yourself a little less slack or a little more on your strap, see where you want the bolster as well. Sometimes under where the knees are is best. Some people like it more underneath the feet as well. So just play around and see what feels best. And if for any reason using the strap isn't working for you, then feel free to change it up and do it without. Just make sure that you feel really comfortable here, whatever your chosen shape. And if you're not choosing the shape for Shavasana, if you want to be in a more traditional, like corpse pose, or if you want to find a seat instead or something like that, then go for it. Really take your time to settle yourself in and take a scan from the feet to the head. Notice if anything needs a little more attention or if something feels a little fidgety, maybe it can have some movement to help it settle. If you were breathing with any sort of technique, then you can start to soften that, let the breath return to its natural inhale and exhale. Let the body start to get heavy here. And settling in for your rest. Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. Bringing one hand to the belly and the other hand to the heart. And take a deep inhale through the chest. Deep sigh out the mouth. And twice more. Last one. And then think about exiting your pose. If you're in butterfly with me with the strap, then maybe you're bringing the feet a little closer to the body so that you can release. And it's okay to keep the strap underneath you, but if you want to take it all the way out, then go for it. And we were like that with the legs open for a little while, so it might feel nice to take the feet wide, maybe take a counter stretch of resting the knees in together, or you could windshield wiper just like we did at the start of practice. Awesome. And then taking the legs down to one side, come to lying down on your side for a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, with the support of the hands, come up to find any comfortable seated position. You can use any of your props for support. Finding your comfortable seat, settling the hips, lengthening the spine, softening the shrug muscles. Maybe a slight tuck of the chin towards the throat to keep the back of the neck nice and long. And take a moment to notice the body. And take a moment to notice the breath. Take a moment to notice your head space. And perhaps connecting the hands in at the heart and bowing the chin towards the chest. And thank you for sharing your breath and your practice. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this week's Hatha practice. And my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your week.